Hey, this is Rob Anspach, and welcome back to another edition of eHeroes. This is episode 201 for everyone who's counting. And my next guest, I haven't seen for many, many years, but he is the catalyst who got me to start writing. So I want to welcome Charlie McDermott, and we're going to actually talk about out of this world results because, I'm a living example of out of this world results. And it's from Charlie that everyone gets to experience my books, and I appreciate that. So welcome, Charlie. Thanks for being here.
Hey, Rob, thrilled to be on the show. I've been following it over the years, and just to back up a little bit, for those who are going, curses, Charlie, you're the one, you're responsible for Rob's writing. Please, let me explain here. So, as Rob knows, we had I'm going to call it kind of a local Philly area entrepreneur club, marketing focused. But Rob, you would drive how far to be there on a regular basis?
About an hour and a half.
Yeah, yep. So as busy as you were back then, every month, hour and a half one way. And so that speaks to you're a man of action. There are a lot of folks out there with ideas or the someday I'll. I'm thrilled I was a facilitator, but I'm guessing that you would have there's nothing stopping you. You get your mind made up. You just knew you were going to do it. And I'm thrilled. You were part of the room because, as you know, I mean, we had an awesome group and a lot of success stories. And it's that rising, what is it? The rising tide raises all boats, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's because of you and so many other folks that we all really thrived. And to this day, 10 years later, we're like, wow.
Well, when I first joined, truth be told, I was nervous. I didn't know what was going on. I mean, I had an idea of marketing because I learned a lot from Joe Polish, but these were more local people. When I went to Arizona to meet Joe, they were people from all over, and I really didn't feel a connection. With you, there was this connection. A lot of these guys were local. I knew them. I ran into them. I had lunch with them. And for me, I thought, wow, these guys are like elevated so far above me. I'm never going to get to that level, and I had to overcome that. And after a couple meetings, I just felt, hey, I feel like I'm part of the family. You guys were always welcoming, challenging, and the concepts and the ideas that you brought up every single week were totally different than what everybody else was doing. And I thought, oh, this is good. And then the one day you said, hey, this is how you write a book. This is what you do. And I'm like, huh, is it that easy? I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're to blame.
What was that?
I said, you're to blame. All blame goes Charlie. Yeah, but
oh, man.
The earlier books that I had, Share, which was the social media, then Lessons from the Dojo, and Optimize This, which was also SEO. Then I went on and wrote a book on podcasting, and I helped my friend Tony Polici, who's actually Joe Polish's brother, with his Wise Guys Copywriting Handbook. Those were all structured for entrepreneurs to learn. And that's great, but it didn't have my sarcastic take on life. And it was, after a while, I'm like, I got to write these stories down. And the first Rob book was Rob versus the Scammers, and people just loved it. And now I make more money, more sales off of these sarcastic books than the other ones because it gets people they feel like they're part of that story. They can relate to it better, and they laugh they're fun to write.
And you say the things that people are often saying in their heads, just aren't verbalizing it. So that's kind of fun too. You take all the heat, and we can just sit back and chuckle and turn the page.
to most people, they don't have a thick skin. And most entrepreneurs don't have a thick skin. I think you and I do because we've been doing it for so long. But there's so many that they take this negative feeling, or a scammer yelling at them, or a customer yelling at them, and they're like, and they try to reevaluate their whole life based on this one negative thing. And I'm like, no, just move forward, go.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the older I get, and I'm sure it's a big part of your success. the more I realize how important, what's between our ears, and not necessarily on the intellectual side, but the self-talk, right?
Right.
Someone tells you no, or looks at you the wrong way. And for some people, it's devastating, right?
Mhm.
Especially if you're in sales or marketing or you're a business owner. And, it's the old, you got to get your head on, you got to get your head straight. And there's a whole science to that, obviously. And so the best way is often to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it until it's like it doesn't, you get that thick skin, right? I don't know if probably few people are born with that, right? It's a learned skill to be able to.
Well, the one thing that always kind of prompts me to not think like that, to keep on moving, was this award by you. And it's
Oh my God.
that one thing.
Very cool.
And it is 10 years old, and people are like, well, Rob, get past that. But you know what? I have to look at that every single day to remind myself that every single day presents that new one thing that I can do to make my life better. And so, again, Charlie, you're responsible.
Well, I mean, but what you just said is gold. It's every night when I am laying in bed, as I fall to sleep, it's so easy to get caught up in the stresses and what I didn't do. And oh my goodness, tomorrow. So I've got myself to a point where I focus on the 3 good things that happened to me that day, whatever they are. And oh my goodness, that it gets my mind set up for the next day of success.
Right.
And what you just shared, everyone's going to have good days, and we're going to have our share of crappy days, bad days, whatever you want to call them, and then the in-betweens. But boy, if we go in tomorrow, it's a clean slate, right? And it's the I can do it, and whether it's writing a book or whatever it is that you want to do, start your own business, get a promotion. It's
right.
We start anew tomorrow. So whatever happened today, forget it. Focus on the good stuff, right? And build that momentum for tomorrow, next week, next month, and like your books. I mean, you said 36 books at this point.
36. I mean, I've written books for myself. I've written books for clients, and produced those for them. And it's not all 36 have gotten on Amazon. There's probably only about 30 of them that got. Some of them, they just wanted that book to be able to hand out to a customer.
Bingo.
I always tell people, I don't care what you're going to do with the book, whether put it on Amazon, because that helps with the SEO and all this other great stuff. But the whole thing is that why give someone just a business card? Why not why give them more, give them a book, introduce yourself. And, I was getting so tired of the same 50 questions that people would ask me. Hey, you want to learn more about social media? Just pick up my book. That'll answer all your questions.
And how great is that? It's consistent. It's a way to clone yourself, right?
Yeah. And then they'll say, well, I don't like to read. Do you have it on audio? No, go read the book. I don't want a customer that can't read.
There you go.
But we're both in the publishing arena now. I mean, I do books, and you have this wonderful line of magazines, and it's incredible because you were that coach that taught all these people how to do some great things, and you're still doing great things.
Well, thanks. It's in us, right? It's part of it. We're driven to give back. It's why you write books, not only for yourself and your audience, but for other folks. And the same with me. I when we moved from Westchester to where we are now, Fort Myers Beach, which is between.
That sounds horrible.
Someone's got to do it, But we got down here, and part of the reason why I could do that is because I was doing the Zoom thing, before it was a thing, before COVID and all that. So my clients were virtual, and I figured, hey, work in the cold, work by the beach. Let's see. It didn't take me too long to decide. It did for Barb, though. She really likes the seasons, but I convinced her.
I keep saying I want to be a snowbird and move down to Florida for the winter because I can't stand the cold. But
yeah, all in good time.
Yeah, the kids were like, but it's great here. I'm like, good, you stay and I'll go, and it doesn't work. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
so let's talk about marketing, because that's the thing that both of us got into, and you're teaching all these great businesses now, a lot of these concepts, and whether they're restaurants, whether they're brick and mortar, whether they're online, a lot of the concepts still work, and they can be interchanged between all kinds of industries.
yeah. Yep. It's the what did Bill Glazer and Dan Kennedy, they had that saying, my business is different. Well, yeah, when it comes to marketing now,
Right.
we all need to be out there. And as strange as it may sound, in our market, you hear a lot of businesses saying, oh my goodness, we're too busy to market.
Mhm.
And what they don't realize is that what you do today in marketing and advertising has nothing to do with people lining up on your door tomorrow. I mean, hey, it'd be great if that were to happen, but it's about what's going to happen next year. I mean,
Mhm.
really, it's about setting the stage and branding, and or getting your messaging out there so that the impressions build up, so that when the time comes to become that buyer of that product or service, that company gets the call, and or that company wins the battle on Google,
Right.
right? And there's a whole psychological, studies on which areas people click and which listings and all that. Well, at the end of the day, if they're already familiar with you, better yet, if they know you, like you, trust you because they've read your book or,
Yeah.
other,
One of
media.
the things I added to that phrase, "know, like, and trust," is feel safe. And
Yeah.
during COVID, nobody felt safe about anything, so you had to make them feel safe to come to you, and then know, like, and trust you. It's just that element of feeling safe right now. Everybody wants you know
Yeah.
to feel that way, and it's COVID changed how things, or how companies worked. And you're right. We have to think about what we're going to market today and how it's going to affect us down the road. But I noticed a lot of accountants were telling their companies, shut your marketing down, save some money.
Oh, sure.
And
That's
then
what
what?
accountants do.
And now you have no business in a 6 months because nobody knows who you are.
Oh,
Yep, that's the
uh,
time.
yeah. Yeah. Time is up.
Yep.
I set my reminders throughout the day because time goes by so quickly. That actually is for my, I don't know what that was for. Anyway,
That was to get off the podcast.
yeah, hey, you can set all the reminders you want, but if you
You
can't
don't
remember what the
remember what they
reminders
are.
are for, what good are they?
Take your
But
pill. Take
oh
your
my
pill.
God. But yeah, I read a book. You follow Grant Cardone at all?
I do. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
even he was affected by COVID. I mean, he had
yeah,
to redo a lot of his properties, and
sure.
people
But
weren't paying rent.
yeah, yeah. But I was reading his book during COVID, the 10X Factor,
Hmm.
and it's always stood out to me. Obviously, to this day, really 2 years later, and he was talking about the recession, the 2008, area, and how businesses were doing the exact same thing. The accountants, the bean counters were saying, "Oh, pull back, don't do that," and of course, the businesses listen. And I have a really good story after this in a moment, but and I'm sure you're familiar with it. But the Grant Cardone looked at it as, wow, this is an opportunity to increase market share, right?
Right.
Zig when everyone else is zagging, right? When all your competitors are pulling back, now it's so much easier, whether it's to compete on Google or any other place, because you've got the whole marketing arena to yourself. So yeah, in some so many ways I go with it, but just the final part about accountants in general. Yeah, I always advise my clients when their accountant recommends pulling back on marketing to ask them, one, how much marketing education knowledge they have, and secondly, when the sales plummet, are they going to give them a huge discount on their services because they're not really going to be able to pay their bills.
Right.
But there's a story of a big fast food company back in the late 70s, early 80s, and of course, You remember back then? That's when I opened my first gym in 19 or 9. Yeah, 19. That feels weird saying 1983. Interest rates were 20%, gas lines, all that crazy stuff. Actually, we were starting to come out of it a little bit because Reagan was president, but the fast food chain decided, well, they already own the marketplace. We're going to pull back on our marketing, right? And then this other fast food chain says, you know what? This is an opportunity to gain market share. We're just going to double down. That company was called McDonald's. You ever hear of McDonald's?
No, I never heard of them.
But the number one fast food company back then in the late 70s. Do you have any idea who they were?
In the 70s?
Yeah, late 70s.
No.
Company
Domino's?
called A&W Root Beer.
And what?
Which I challenge you to find one still in existence, right?
I think there might be one in Rehoboth Beach.
Yeah, I think there's. Last time I was there, years ago, was a Sure-like place. But it's there's a reason why big time, whether it's Apple computers or the big Fortune 500 companies, certainly look no further than Coke and Pepsi and so forth, that they keep pouring money into marketing, right? Yeah. Because they know if they don't stay front of mind, they're going to get slaughtered, just like A&W Root Beer did. So, yeah.
For most entrepreneurs, we don't have the budget to be a branded icon like Coke, but we can use our personality. We can use, some of the things that we do say and even create to be our brand.
Yeah. Well, and the other is you can be a brand, maybe not global, maybe not national, but if you hyper target who you're going after. And so that's what attracted me to the publications and the magazines that we do here in Southwest Florida. What's unique about this is that we're able to focus on a community, a group of neighborhoods. So that air conditioning company or, that roofing company or whatever it is, chiropractor can be that brand, that go-to company for those residents. So they are it's like your mini Fortune 500 company, but you don't need a $100 million marketing budget. For $200 a month or $500 a month, you can become that go-to brand, and that's what appealed to me. With when I as I've shared with you off mic, I got one of these magazines in the mail, and I was like, whoa! I can probably count on one hand the number of times I got marketing in the mailbox, and it stopped me in my tracks. And I took this magazine into the house and sat down and read it. And I was like, what the heck is this? This is good stuff.
Well, yesterday I got AAA magazine and an AARP magazine. And my wife looks at me and she goes, are you going to read this? And I'm like, not today. And it went right in the trash.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I can't even tell you the amount of magazines I even read anymore because they just don't pull me in.
Bingo.
But with yours, I looked at the covers, I looked at what you're doing, and it's just, fabulous. And I think that's why it appeals to people. And, granted, Florida is a little bit different of a culture than, Philadelphia. People are more receptive, I think. But I think that we need, as entrepreneurs, to think about where is our content being put, because we don't own the content on Facebook or Google. They can shut us down at any time. So we have to have our own platforms.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And actually, before we go any further, I just want to be transparent in that this community magazine, neighborhood magazine, is not. I didn't figure this out. This is a company called Best Version Media, and I've been blown away. I've been now, a little over 2 years I've been doing this, and I incorporated with my digital agency, and there's 1,100 of these magazines all over North America. I call it the best kept marketing secret in the country, simply because unless you as a business owner live in one of these communities, you have no idea that they even exist.
Yeah, I didn't know until I saw what you were doing. So if I didn't know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs that probably don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but to your point, content is king, obviously. And not just content for the sake of putting content out there, as you know, but content that's helpful, and like you said, builds that know, like, and trust factor. It's not about buy me. It's about, hey, if I'm a roofer, I want to write about, hey, how to know when you need a new roof, right? What do you do when you have like how to make sure your rain spouts don't back up, things like that are real helpful for our readers and from a SEO standpoint, because when you take that and you put it on the website and all that becomes really powerful. And yeah.
Well, you're using the questions that everybody asks anyway. So if you're typing into Google and Google's spitting this out, they're going to tell you, hey, go to this guy, and now you become the authority and you got the credibility because, hey, you're being listed first.
Yep. Yeah.
So, between your media company and the magazines, I mean, that's got to have some power. I mean, I know just for me, from what we do for our clients with SEO and social media and it to me, social media is I think it's kind of it was powerful, 2 years ago. I think it's starting to slowly die. People are getting disgruntled. I guess, after being 2 years of being locked in by COVID, they're like, I need to go find some real stuff.
Let me out. Yeah. It's funny. I always start when I meet with my potential clients, soon to be clients. One, it's a lot of fun because what we do is so unique and powerful. But you know what? I think I hit the snooze instead of the stop. So
that's reminding him to take his next pill.
Jeez, yeah. There you go. I still have no idea what.
I'm just going to turn this into the dementia podcast.
Yikes. But when you think about it, Rob, as a business owner, there are two things that stop you, that keep you from really maximizing your potential to get the word out there and grow your company. The first thing is time.
Yeah.
Right. Who has the time to write blog posts? Who has the time to do the social media and all that stuff? And so, okay, I don't have the time. No biggie. I'll hire an agency. I'll hire an SEO company to do SEO for $2,000 a month, or an agency to run my ads, all that. And that's all well and good. But what if you don't have the money? Or in my case, I mean, with our health clubs, heck, our when we grew up, we were at 10 million in sales, and our budget was $500,000 a year. Well, could have easily invested $1 million. I could have made a case. It's like you can always invest more in your company. So what we bring to the table, and which is so much fun, I've been able to incorporate what we do on the digital agency side and bring my team over to the publication side and give them the best of both worlds. So now there's no need for the business owner or even their marketing team to spend time on doing stuff. We're going to do it for them.
Yeah.
And from a money standpoint, you ready for this? The crazy part is we don't charge extra for things like writing blog posts and doing podcasts and providing all this SEO content, social media, and on and on and on, because our goal is to help them become that authority in the local community.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it's worked for us, and it was risky in the beginning because I'm literally investing money in my sponsor's business, right? Because we're paying for all this stuff to happen. And we probably have well over 50 podcasts that we produce for businesses in Southwest Florida.
Wow.
But the way it has turned out is, one, they never leave us, because why would you? You're getting all this extra stuff that is helping them generate business and great referrals. They're bringing their friends in and all that. But, the funny part to it all, in the beginning, one of the companies is a paver protector company. His Jeff Evers, great guy, and actually a really good marketer. And he was one of those guys like you, just says yes. It's like I know he's thinking in his mind and probably verbalized it. Okay, I hear you on the podcast and great, but who's going to listen to a podcast about paver protectors, really, Charlie? So, but he does it, and we convert everything so it appears on this blog, and we're sending it out there. It's like the old days with video. You get it on all the different platforms, so all these pages are showing up from my client. And about 6-8 months into it, and we meet with them on a regular basis to record the podcast episodes. And Jeff says, funny thing, my receptionist, who I just hired 2 months ago, she came into my office the other day and she says, did we do a podcast or something? And it's like, well, yeah. I don't know how many people listen to it, but yeah, we do a podcast. I think it's working. She said, because like we've had 5 or 6 sales come in the last 2 weeks saying that the reason they heard about you is through the podcast. So it's like, oh, okay. Now, this is a podcast. This is not Joe Rogan. This is not, political, or this is a podcast about paver protectors, which is a big deal in Florida because you have pavers, you don't have asphalt because I guess it melts. But it's like, who's going to listen to that stuff? Well, the answer is people who are interested in your product or service. It's that buyer's journey, right? Mm-hmm. People go on the buyer's journey on Google, and now they're finding Jeff's podcast. And from a trust standpoint, they're listening to him. This guy knows his stuff, and he's helping me get a stain out of my driveway. And then they go, do I really want to mess with this? And they pick up the phone and call Jeff, and he gets to work. So
yeah, and the nice thing about podcasts, you could do the same thing. We're doing the video. The video is going to be on YouTube. The audio is going to be a podcast, and then you transcribe it, becomes a blog article. So you got all these things working for you, and it takes you half hour. I have one attorney that his podcast is probably only 5 minutes long every episode, and it's just him answering a question that someone presented, and he's got now 160 episodes. And every 52 episodes, we turn into another book. We just transcribe it, put it together.
Great.
Yeah. And so people that don't listen to the podcast that come in, they get a copy of the book, and or copies of the book. We just finished volume 3, and so he's getting the SEO from Amazon, SEO from the podcast. The audibles out there, and he's getting all this traction. He's like, do I need to spend money on Google Ads anymore? He goes, I'm getting all this traffic now.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And I was just going to add to that. And the best part is, when you look at Google Ads, I mean, hey, it's great. Keep doing Google Ads. But the wonderful thing is, if you decide to stop paying Google, that content is always going to work for you, and you don't have to feed it money like you do Google, right? So it's just like, this stuff's going to work for you forever.
Yeah. It's phenomenal. And so I focus, and many of my audience knows that in my past life, I had a carpet cleaning business, and I transitioned out of that business because of the marketing that I learned, not only through, Joe Polish and Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer and Charlie here. But, now I'm teaching other people all these concepts. And it's phenomenal to watch these lawyers and doctors transition to be money machines. And it's all from stuff that you already know. The content's in your head. Just get it out and share it with people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that goes back kind of full circle from where we began, getting your head on and having the confidence, not worried about the naysayers and the nitwits on social media. And they don't, it's a non-event, but we all go through that. We all second guess what we're about to say, and it keeps us from being successful. It's the old get out of your own way, right? Just do it, and have faith. Just follow the system that the trail's already been blazed. All you need to do is show up and speak and oftentimes, as it's stuff we all take for granted in our specialty, but my goodness, whether it's paver protectors or, getting out of pain with a chiropractic adjustment or whatnot, share that information, because for the vast majority of the population, they've either not heard it before and they really appreciate it, or they have, but they've completely forgotten it and they appreciate relearning that information. Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm kind of this personality disruptor, because they see my sarcasm. But the thing is, most of these lawyers and doctors have all gone to the Vulcan School of No Emotion. And then you go there and they're like, oh my God, you got horrible bedside manner. Or, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're all using legalese, and get that personality to shine, because people are going to, like you so much better. And sometimes you don't need to use all these big words. Just dumb it down, and people are like, oh, yeah, he's talking my language.
I don't know if you remember, we back when we were doing the Ben meetings, I had a video studio, and we used to fly in attorneys, or they'd fly in. It was green screen and all that fun stuff. Oh my Lord, here are these like power player attorneys, and they walk in, and you could just feel their egos, and for the most part, great folks. But then you turn the camera on, and it's like, where did you go? Like, what happened? Yeah. So
and the funny thing is that I learned so much during these small Ben meetings, because everybody was there. They didn't bring their ego. They came in, and they were very helpful. And so I encourage anybody that to try to get into not just network marketing, but ones that are actually going to teach you something. Because I see some of these BNI people, oh yeah, we just go for the referrals. Yeah, but some of those referrals aren't that great. You want to learn stuff while you're there. And I learned confidence. I learned not to deal with people's egos, and oh my God, it's just I wish that the Ben meetings were still there. But
yeah, it definitely was a fun time. I mean, just the relationships and the ideas that we generated in that room on a regular basis. And but Rob, it was just too damn cold most of the time. It wouldn't survive.
Well, you could do it in Florida. Have to come up with a different acronym though.
Yeah, that was Mike Capuzzi. Credit to him. He came up with that, and and he really blazed the trail. He got it going, and he moved on, and I jumped in and kept it running. So
yeah, you made it interesting, and I'm not saying Mike didn't, but I think some of the experiences that you shared, were a little bit, and they were foreign to us when we went there. But at the time, you were also trying to get your son into Hollywood, so you would share all these great stories, and the marketing that you used to get him into Hollywood is the same marketing that you're using to help chiropractors, and it's just getting out there and getting noticed.
Yep.
But the thing is, entrepreneurs, like you said, they're busy, they're frustrated, they have no idea what they should do, they're overwhelmed, and sometimes I just tell them, look, focus on the 3 things that you're good at. There's because a lot of them had this long list of stuff that they're, oh, I sell NFPs, I do crypto, I have a gym, I do this. Really? No wonder your brand's off. No one even knows what the hell you do. So, focus on your 3 strengths and make sure people are aware of it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's certainly, like you said, certainly easier from the outside looking in. It jumps out at us, but we've all been there where you get caught. You're lost in the woods, and you're hoping and groping, and talk about frustrating, right? It's nice to have someone like you where they can, and that's the important part about having a coach or a consultant, someone who can step back. He's not emotionally involved, right? Going to look at things objectively, not be afraid to tell you, hey, Rob, this is really the way it is, that's invaluable, because what typically happens is we either burn ourselves out, running ourselves into the ground. You can only do so much. There's only 7 days in a week, and it's not fun, right? That's the worst part.
You're working 7 days.
But
one of the things that I've done though over the years is that, and we get this bad rap as entrepreneurs. Oh, you work half a day, 12 hours. I mean, but no, I've tried to reduce the amount of hours that I actually dedicate to my business anymore, because 1, the business was supposed to fund my personal life. not my personal life funding the business. So I've reduced everything down to about 4 hours a day. And people are like, how the hell you get all that work done in 4 hours? I hyper focus. I get it done, and then I go and enjoy the day. And you don't have to be behind a computer for 12 hours a day. You don't have to be out there, drumming up business 12 hours a day. Focus on what you can and leave the rest to the next day. And that's hard for people to do.
And avoid the distractions. You do not need to check your email every hour. You don't even need to check your email every day. Social media. Find someone to manage.
And with social media, we automate as much as we can, because for me, automating all that social posting saved me 20 hours a week.
Yeah, I believe it.
And people are like, well, Rob, you're everywhere. You're on LinkedIn. You're on here. You're here. You're here. Weren't you just posting? Yeah, but I haven't really posted anything in years. It's just automated. And secret's out. Yep, sorry. But that's the way it is. I'm not there all the time.
Yeah.
And, I think you really, really have to just take the overwhelm out of people so that they see that it's a little easier than they make it out to be.
Yeah.
But, I commend you, because, you're out there every day. I mean, we share some of the same clients, apparently. I mean, off air, we were talking about this, and it was like, wow, I said, you should meet this person. Oh, I already did that. And I'm like, wow, yeah.
Oh, world.
But, it's, and I haven't, the last GKIC meeting I went to was 2019 in Colorado, and there was hardly anybody there.
Yeah.
And it was sad to see that this marketing dynamic that was created by Dan Kennedy and Bill Glazer has been reduced to, hardly anybody showing up anymore.
Yeah. That was quite a time. I mean, again, just like take our Ben meetings and, on steroids, the folks in the room and the success stories and the knowledge and the speakers, and certainly, goodness gracious, Dan and Bill and, what they had done. It was amazing. I guess Russell and Dan have partnered up, right, for the new version of GKIC.
Yeah, Russell Brunson. Yeah, they Russell has what, ClickFunnels or something like that. And I was never a big fan of ClickFunnels. My thing was, you're always one funnel away from a nervous breakdown. People over funnel their systems, and then they can't figure out how to fix it when it breaks. And my philosophy is always keep it simple, and you got to do that with your marketing. And I think that was one of the things that helped me win that award that you gave me. It was just a simple letter that I wrote. It was a 4-page letter that I sent out to people, but it basically told them exactly what I was going to do for them and why they need to call me back. And it didn't overhype. It didn't overpromise. It was just, my honesty coming out, and that made us so much money, that letter. And I think with people, in your magazines and doing certain things that you're teaching them, it sounds overwhelming, but it's not. It's very simple concepts.
Yeah. That's, it's all things in life. You can make it as complicated as you want, right? And I think part of that is just the way we're wired. It's almost like, oh my goodness, like in your case, I figured out how to work 4 hours. Now, a lot of people would say, and that's the pushback you get, like, well, how can you get everything done? Maybe I'm not doing everything, or what am I missing out on? What if I work all 8 hours? So I think the same with marketing. It's like, wow, it's got to be all these different things. And, SEO is like, oh my God, it's like this secret thing happening. No, it's just put out great content on a regular basis. Done, So and what I love about what you shared earlier, whether it's a video, the podcast, it's that magic bullet, right? It's that one thing that creates all these other. It's that spider effect. It's like, the rock that hits the window and then spiders out, right? And that's the kind of damage you can do in a good way with just one piece of media that simply is, the FAQ. Answer a question that you probably have on your website and your frequently asked questions page that probably only has 1 or 2 sentences. That isn't enough, that you can expand on probably in your sleep, talk about it for 5, 10, 15 minutes and give an awesome answer. And the rest is history. And
one of my clients made a question over COVID. Can I sue over COVID? And it became his highest rated video. It came as, we transcribed it into transcribed it into an article that became one of his highest rated searchable blogs. And it was just during this time when everybody felt panic, and here he is answering a question. One of the things I think you're really good at where, and I encourage everybody else to do is newsjacking. Take the current events, answer them, like you would, whether it be an attorney or even your paper guy. If it's in the news, use it because people are already searching for it.
Yep. That's a great point. Yeah. And you always see that, list of 5 or 6 questions in Google search, and they're answered. But if it's your field, you can answer it too.
And if you're looking for a paper guy in Florida, bam, that you're showing up. So, use those things that you see every day, the common news, and use them to your advantage, because that's how you're going to get to be known as the authority in your field. And it's very simple to do.
It's a great way to clone yourself. I coach my clients on, use this media. I've got a list of 61 benefits, and actually, anybody wants a copy, it's 61benefits.com. I just list out the 61 benefits that our campaign creates. And you've seen the list before. It's a little different, specialized for what we do, but it's the same old. Email marketing is always a great one, often overlooked, right? It's I want to spend all this money in whatever, Google pay-per-click or Facebook ads or whatever, but they don't realize that what you're putting on social media could easily be and you do a great job with your email. I get your emails all the time.
That's one person.
Well, but here, whether my email when I send out gets open or not, what happens? People see it, even if it's a delete. I'm front of mind for a few seconds, and I just brought on a huge client last week, who got an email from me 3 months ago, and it took that long for us to connect just because of schedules. Who I initially met 2 years ago, right? So that stuff happens all the time. Now, email marketing isn't the end all be all, but neither is social media, neither is Google pay-per-click, neither is a magazine ad or anything else. So, when I coach my clients, it's like, hey, you can put all your eggs in one basket and go to bed tonight hoping and praying that ad works or that Google campaign works, or you can diversify for the same money and be in all these different media. And as you know, again, that rising tide raises all boats. The more marketing you do, the better performing all of your marketing. So it pays to be, I call it, that omnipresent marketing, be in as much media as you can.
And you never know when where your customer is coming from. I've gotten customers from years ago, they're still on my email list. Hey, Rob, can you help? Sure. Yep. Or from LinkedIn or from wherever. One of the things I don't resonate well with TikTok. I don't resonate with Snapchat, so I'm not going to be there. So, you don't have to be everywhere, but you do have to be the places that you resonate or you think your clients resonate.
Yeah.
I'm never going to get any clients from I can't say never, but I'm not one of these fans that like to point at stuff on TikTok. So nope, not happening.
Yeah, never been on it.
There you go. We're not on TikTok, so don't find us there. Yeah. But it for you, it's I guess your website is what, 61 benefits, or do you have another one?
Well, our Good Neighbor Podcast.com is what I've been doing. That started when COVID hit in Florida. We just recorded episode number 704 earlier today.
Oh, wow. Is that, I'm like celebrating 201 and you're in the 700s.
It's just one of those things that morphed into something because I started when COVID hit, and I really started the podcast simply because my clients in the magazine were shut down. And so I got all these guys twiddling their thumbs. I said, hey, a podcast work well for my other clients in my digital agency. Why don't we knock out a few episodes? And then they're like, wow, I've always wanted to do a podcast. Don't know how to do the technical stuff. Can you help? So we just incorporated it in the program. And the rest is history. But the rest of the community caught wind of it, and they've asked to be on the show. So I do the Good Neighbor podcast, which just is a free. We don't charge businesses for it, just an ongoing thing that we do. And then we have the individualized podcast for like Jeff's company, the paper protectors and realtors and chiropractors who are clients who advertise in the magazine. So goodneighborpodcast.com. And then our agency is goodneighborpartner.com, that we, share all the wonderful things we do. But that's really it. We spend most of our time doing marketing for our clients at this point.
And so, you're a great example of, someone who transplanted, from one place to another and recreated a new business. And I think some people just don't see that opportunity as much, or they're afraid to move because they'll lose business.
So that's a really good point. I often forget that, it's so here we are in the middle of nowhere, kind of. I mean, that our neighbors are almost like alligators right there in the Everglades. Knew no one in Fort Myers Beach. We ended up here because we did a winter getaway, and I thought, wow, I always wanted to live at the beach. This would be cool. And so here we are. And our neighbors are in their 80s and 70s and go away in the summertime, and not business people, obviously. Well, they were, but they're retired. And so knew no one. And I thought, okay, how do we do these local publications? Well, I don't know anyone. And that's where the podcast, I was like, well, wait a minute, we can help businesses. And then it's a great way for us to get to know other business owners. And so it's really worked out well. When I'm interviewing them, I get to know them, they get to know me. And then, sometimes it's like, hey, can you help me with my marketing? Or, and one thing leads to the next, and it's a win-win for everyone. But it's like all things, like you writing the book. If you told me 2 years ago, Charlie, you got to do 703 episodes, I'd be like, are you kidding me? I'd be exhausted. But you with all the books, it's one word at a time, one page at a time, and before you know it, 36 books later, right? So.
And for the Rob versus series, it's I'll share these scenarios out on social, and then I'll just copy and paste it, put it back into my book, and within 50 days, 60 days, there's another book. So it's not rocket science. It just one day at a time. But you and I are both the same. We use one product to sell the next product, And the podcast that I'm doing is free. Anybody can listen to it. And I did it for the purpose of educating entrepreneurs, and especially the next entrepreneurs. I want to leave a legacy. Something that people can learn from, and who were my mentors, and who's influencing me to do this stuff, and same with the books. And it gets people to learn more about me. I just had a lawyer contact me because I read one of your books. I couldn't stop laughing. I want to hire you. I'm like, okay, it's so when you get that type of thing, instantly they're not going to give you pushback. They're going to say, yeah, whatever the price is, I want you, because you've made them laugh, or so what you're doing is you're making them feel good. You're making them feel safe. You're making them say, I can trust this guy, and go to the next thing, the next level. And that's what every entrepreneur should be doing. Yep.
Because you nailed it right there. I thought back then 2 years ago, who am I to whatever, even if I could walk into a business and say, hey, I'm Charlie McDermott, I'm here to help you. It's like, who are you? Go away, right? Versus, well, let me help you without selling you anything. And it's worked out great. And so it's back to what you've done, and what everyone can learn from that is that focus, right? It's and that faith in yourself. And I'm sure you had a vision, maybe not 36 books, but you were looking down the road a bit, and you knew, hey, the first one, I'm guessing, is always the toughest. And then once I get that rolling, like you said, that book feeds the next book, feeds the next book. And so it's just a matter of,
it
sounds right, starting.
Share Book was created during my tenure at Ben, and I distributed it out there, and people liked it. It wasn't the best book out there because there's spelling errors in it, and I always tell people, is that what you hung up on? Did you like the content? Yeah. But that book, became that thing that people said, wow, Rob, can you help me with my book? And then, because of the system that I learned from you, it became very easy to create more books. Now we're doing 4 or 5 of them a year.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but it all comes back to, you got to have that good neighbor, that good entrepreneur. For you, the name stuck. Now it's Good Neighbor Partner, and it's I want everybody that's listening to go to Charlie's website to learn more about him, and to send him hate mail because he created me. I joke, but yeah, it's send him hate mail.
I appreciate that. Don't get enough of that down here. But just remind everyone, I'll be reading it on the beach when it's snowing up there. So hate me all you want. It's still gonna be gorgeous here.
This is what makes Charlie an e-hero. And I everybody, go to his website, goodneighborpartner.com.
Good neighbor partner. Actually, is it partner or partners? I think it's partners. I should know that, Rob.
Yeah, that's what the alarms were for, to take his memory pills.
I won't go there. Yes, it is. It's Good Neighbor Partner without the s.com.
Or go to 61 benefits.com.
61benefits.com, which is just a PDF download. Yeah. But, the reason I recommend that is because it will remind you of easy ways to take what you've already created, content that you already have, and use it to get even more business. Just a lot of what's on there are things that we forget to do, and it'd be like, whoa, yeah. Let's maximize every dollar in our marketing budget rather than, it's easy to spend. I get it. It's important, but I want to see you invest that money, not just spend it.
There you go. This is what makes him awesome. Anyway, we'll see you guys on the next episode. Adios.